Hey guys, it's Yvette, and here I am with clue number 4 for the Cotton Cuts puzzle mystery quilt. And this one is the Name of the Rose, and it is my small Whimsy quilt. So I am a teeny tiny bit behind on this. I am so sorry, but I'm really excited to get these together, and I'm ready for clue 5 after this. I'm telling you, I'm ready. I love these fabrics. I mean, of course I do because I chose this, but I just love the Tula pink. So if you're, it doesn't even matter whether you're using the fabrics for Whimsy or some other. Hopefully, if you have any questions, you'll be able to watch this, or heck, if you just like watching people sew, this is going to be a great video for you. Okay, so every month when we get our new clue, we are given this piece of paper which tells us how many pieces of each we should have in the pack. And I've counted all of these. We are good and ready to go. And so now we are going to turn our paper over, and we have all of our instructions. And the first thing we're going to do is section 4A. Now, what we need first, oh goody, we're making flying geese. Okay, oh, let me get my cheat sheet out. Okay, at the very beginning, we are given this little fabric cheat sheet so that we know when they're telling us to use fabric D, that it's this one. If we're looking for fabric F, it's this one, you know. So this is very essential. When you do get it in your first month, make sure you keep it, because this is vital to knowing which fabrics to use. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to need is my large triangle E's, which E is this guy. And so that means these I'm going to keep out. And then I'm also going to need my small triangle A, and A is the dark purple. So I'm going to take these guys and I'll hold those aside, and everything else I'm just gonna scooch over so that they're out of the way. And then we're ready. Okay. So the way that we make our flying geese, and we're going to make 4 of these. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, and 4. And once we have those 4, then we're going to set out these dark purple, which are going to go in the both of the corners as such. Okay, so the way that we put these together is you want to sew down one side, do your pressing, and then come back and do the other side. So first we're going to, I always start with the left. That way I'm always just moving left to right. So you'll take the triangles that are on the top left, you'll fold them down right sides together. And then you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right down this side. So I'm going to go and do that, and when I come back, we will add the pieces on the right. Okay, so here we are back, and I have sewed down the left side of all the flying geese, and now we just need to sew down the second side. So now the reason why we do them in 2 steps like this is because we need to make sure that we have pressed down the one on the left, so that when we add the one on the right, we are going to sew over that seam, which is what makes the point in the flying geese. So we're going to do the same thing on the right side. We're just going to fold them down right sides together, and then we are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right down that right side. So I'm going to get that done. We'll come back and we'll be on step 2. Okay, so we have our first set of flying geese all put together. This is step 1, and I think I forgot to mention that we were to be pressing toward our A fabric, which is the solid purple. So now that I have these 4, I'm going to set them aside. Oh, no, actually we're going to use them in step 2. Okay, so this is going to be part of step 2. The other part is we are going to sew an E rectangle to the bottom. Okay, and so E is the purple patterned fabric. And let me grab that. Okay, so we're going to have 4 of these. We've got 4 there, and then we have 4 of these rectangles, and we're going to attach them on the bottom like that. And all we need to do is flip them right sides together. And this is the seam that we are going to sew at 1/4 inch. As soon as I get these done, I'll come back and then we'll be on step 3. Okay, so here we have our step 2 completed. So I'm going to move these to the side here. And the next thing we're going to need is our large triangle F and our large triangle C. So it's the white or cream sort of with the bananas and the light purple solid. Okay, so I have these here and I need 4 of each. Okay, so it's 4 of that one and 4 of that one, and it looks like, okay, so our C is going to be on this side and we're going to have them in this direction. And then we're going to take our F and put it this way. So you want to have the long part of the triangle to the tops, okay? And like that, oops, and like that. Okay, so now to get those together, we are going to turn them right sides together like this. And we are going to sew our 1/4 inch seam allowance right down this middle seam. Okay, so I will get those done and come back. And then it looks like we're gonna have a step 4 to do after that. Okay, so we have the FC triangles made. So I'll put these aside just for a sec because we're going to do the exact same thing with these pieces here. Now on the first 2, or the first 4 that we made with F and C, we were instructed to press toward F. I keep forgetting to mention that. I apologize. Okay. And now we're going to do the same thing with these. We are going to turn them right sides together and we are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam line here. And after we do that, you want to press toward F again. Okay, so we have those pressed toward F. These will be pressed toward F. And then when we come back, step 5 is going to be to join those together. So come back and we will get those done. Okay, so we have the first ones and the second batch, and now we're going to connect the 2 to make 4 squares. So we are going to take the FC, which are these, and put them to the top left, and we're going to put the FA to the bottom right. Now when we are going to connect those together, we will turn them right sides together just by flipping them straight over, and the seams will nest because we have pressed them in opposite directions. And you can sort of feel it with your finger where they are butting right up against each other. Okay, and then we will just lay them out, and we are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right down the middle, and that will give us 4 of the squares that we need. So I will go and do that, and after you do the sewing, you are going to press toward the FC triangle, which is the lighter purple over here. So that's the direction you're going to want to press toward. So I'll be right back, and we will go on to the next step. Okay, so we have our 4 squares ready, and the next thing, and actually the last step in section 4A, is to attach these 2 pieces together just like this. So we're going to take one of these and one of these, and this is the direction that we want to sew it. So we're going to take the bottom piece and flip it up so that they are right sides together, and we are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right across here. And then after you do that, you're gonna head over to your ironing board and press toward the top piece. And then once we're done with that, I'm gonna come back. We will show off the last step of those for those 4 pieces, these 4 that we're going to attach together, and then we're going to start section 4B. Okay, so we have our 4 pieces that are completed for section 4A, and we are supposed to measure them. You guys know this is the part I hate the most. But we're supposed to measure them to 6.5 inches this way by 12.5 inches this way. Okay, and I can tell you right now that they're all really crooked. So, but I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna measure. And I have my very large ruler here. Let's see. If I go 6.5 inches across, oh wow, so it looks like I actually can trim some, which is the part that I thought was a little funky. Actually, it's kind of funky on this side. So that's good. That just means that I'll be able to trim a bit off of there, and then it should be okay. Oops. And let's see, let's go top to bottom. And it's crooked, so that's the problem. It's like if I go, oh my goodness, it's off by like 1/4 inch, like no lie. Okay, well, that was fun. I'm so happy I did that. Okay, so let me just get a different ruler, and I don't know, guys. I'm going to attempt to just sort of clean it up on the sides a little bit. Since the length is off by 1/4 inch, which, I mean, for goodness sakes, anyways, I don't know. It doesn't matter. In the end, it'll be okay, I guess. I don't know. when I put them together, it always ends up like fine, you know what I mean? But I don't know. This is a little disheartening if I'm, you know, being honest. So I'm just going to do the trimming and que sera, sera, right? That's what I say. Okay, so at least I have that side cleaned up. This side, I'm just going to do, oh my goodness, look how crooked that is. All right, you know what? I think I'm just going to leave them. What do I want to do? Do I want to, because see, there was something crooked about those pieces, and so like they kind of went crooked a bit. And I know it's going to be fine once I'm putting them all together, but I think I just want to clean this piece up because that's the piece that really went wonky. Let's see, I'm going to kind of just trim that one a little bit. Let me see, is this one as much off as, well, not really. I don't know, it's very strange, guys. Very, very strange. But that's okay. I work with it every time and it's just fine. So I'm just going to cut that wonky piece off right there. And that just looks a little, I mean, it looks a little cleaner. And let's see. That one okay, that's the one I trimmed. This one I trimmed. Just scooch them. And then this one needs a little trim. I think it's, that one has a smaller need really for the trim. And up and down, I don't know, they're so funky. They're all like crooked and I don't really know why. Okay, let's see if what I'm trying to do right now is this white line I'm trying to put right at that seam so that I am at least getting them so that they're even. And I'm just cutting that little bit of wonky piece. Not that it's not wonky in other spots, but that part like stands out. It's like really poking out a bit. All right, and then this last one. I'm sorry, I just moved the camera. That was me. Okay. I apologize. Oh wow, that's bad. I almost want to just stop looking at anything. All right, I'm just going to trim off the wonky part. All right. Okay, I'm just going to leave them like that because there's no way I can make them perfect, and so that's okay. I'm good. I'm ready. Okay, so these pieces are going to be labeled section 4A. So I've got this paper, and where's my regular pen? That one somewhere. Okay, and I'm going to just mark it 4A. Let's do it this way. All right, I'm going to take my paper scissors. I'll cut that little piece. And then I'll just take a Wonder Clip and I'll clip it. Okay, and then I'm just going to put these away into my storage box for when we are putting the entire quilt together. So now we're ready. Let me put this back. Okay, we're ready to start section 4B, and we are going to need 2 large E triangles, which are these, and I've got those right here. And we are going to use 4 of the small A triangles, which are the dark purple, and I've got those here. We're going to make flying geese. Okay, So just like in 4A, we are going to start with the left side. I just like to start with the same side every time just so that it doesn't get confusing. We know exactly what we're doing. And I'm going to turn them right sides together. And then we are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance here and here. And then we are going to press toward A, which is the dark purple. And as soon as I'm done with that, we will come back, or I'll come back and we'll add the right side. Okay, so I have the other side sewn on. You might have noticed that I totally forgot to record me sewing that side. So you just have to take my word for it. I did it. And so these are ready. I'm going to go ahead and set them aside for a second. And now we're going to make another set of flying geese. We're going to use the large C triangles, which is this light purple. And I just made the camera move again, didn't I? Sorry about that, guys. I have to change my setup, obviously. Or something. Okay, so I have the 2 large C triangles, and then I'm going to use 4 of the small E triangles, which is this fabric right here. So let me get that. Okay, we're going to put them on either side, just like that. And now we're going to make these exactly like we've made the other 3 whole sets that we've done in this whole video. So we're going to start with the left side. We'll fold it right sides together, sew down that seam allowance, press it, come back, and then sew down the right side and press. And we're pressing everything toward, these are going to be pressed toward E. So toward these 2 sides here. Once those are done, come back and I will have step number 3 ready to go. Okay, so here are the other 2 flying geese that we have, and I'm going to take the first 2 that we made and we're going to put these together. So we want to actually take this flying geese and put it underneath that one, and that's how we're going to join them. So then here's what we're going to do. We're going to flip the bottom on top of the top one. And we're going to go ahead and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right here. Now someone had asked me in the comment section of another video for me to show how I get my points. And this is pretty much what I do. So of course, everything's always wonky when I do everything. So when I'm putting these together and they're off because the pieces are, you know, kind of a little bit wonky, what I'll do is, in general, I want to make sure I'm looking around each side and saying, okay, look, you know, 95% of the pieces of fabric or where they should be. Like here, you can tell that it's over just a little bit, and I can pull it again from here because that side looks like it's not over yet, or it's not touching that purple on the bottom. And now it's not overlapping there. And what I'll do is I'll flip it over, and I want to see what does it look like on the other side. Okay, so now these 2 sides, I'm happy with. I'm okay with them, okay? So then if I flip it back over again, I mean, I know that this is off and that if I flip this again, that's off. But they're pretty much, I mean, they're uniformly off. Does that make sense? So, okay. I know that this is where we are joining the pieces. So what I will do, and honestly, when the pieces are cut a little funky, you just have to kind of use common sense. Like right now, it's, you know, it's not even going to matter. Like the nesting is not going to make any difference because we've got a seam going here, and then these seams going here. So there's no nesting. There's no doing any of that. It's basically just using common sense, to be honest. That's all I do. So if I take my ruler and I know that right there is my point, okay? Now, you don't want to draw your line like above the point, and you don't want to really draw it below the point. You want to, or if you're gonna, you want to cheat to below it and not above it, because if you go above it, you're going to chop your point off. Down here, you might see a little bit of the other fabrics, but that would be preferable to cutting off your point. Now, if that said, what I would do is I'm going to take one of the lines on my ruler, like one of the straight lines that just goes all the way across, and I'm going to put it directly up and, you know, perpendicular to the line in the middle. Like this is the line I'm going to draw. This is the perpendicular line. So I'm going to make sure that it's pretty much, you know, straight up and down. I mean, I'm not, you know, like I don't have razor focus eyeballs, so it's not like that's going to happen, you know, but I just kind of eyeball it. Now, here's what I can tell you. Right here is where I would put the ruler to draw my line. Okay? If I did that, if you look down here, you're seeing a ton of fabric under that 1/4 inch, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking what I need to do in order to, because if I just sew it there and cut that off or whatever, then your block, once you press it, is going to be way too short, okay? So I know that this top piece needs to come down, all right? So I am going to just, and I'm going to use this side, I think, because that's the side that's most uniform. This one is, you know, you can see how the bottom one is a bit wonky. So I'm going to just pull it down just a bit. And I'm going to look at the side and see that this left side is still looking okay. All right. And then I'm going to put the ruler on there again. Now that's looking a little bit better. Okay. You still have some of the purple, I don't even know what you would call that, the vine fabric underneath, you know, where the line would go, because this is pretty much perpendicular. Now, someone else also asked me, and I want to show you this as well. Someone else also asked me that about using a second ruler and why do I do that? Okay, so here's why I do it. I could, sure, like eyeball all this stuff. If I'm wanting to make sure that it is even more precise, or as precise as I could possibly get it, I will take a second ruler. Let me get one. Okay, I'll take a second ruler and I'll hold the bottom one. You want to hold it pretty firm so that it doesn't move. And you want to put this second one on top. And here's what you can do. Now you see, I can tell already it's a little crooked. Well, I don't know what's going to happen with it. This happens sometimes too. If I move, see how I have this 45-degree line? Okay, so if I put that line directly over the seam that I sewed, it looks pretty much perfect. But now if I slide this over again and go over this one, it's way off. I don't know if I'd say way off, but it's off, okay? So that tells me it's not going to be perfect. It's just not, because of, you know, something I did. So I can try to sort of like cheat it, you know, to where this way a little bit, that way, if I cheat it just that little bit, I'm still not on where I need to sew. That's where I need to be, okay? then here's what I'll do. Now I'm going to move it back to the left to go over this line that I sewed. And yes, it's off, but you see how much it's off over here? And now I'm going to scooch it to the right. And that one's still way more off. So I could continue to fuss with it, right? Like I could just move my right side down just a little bit. Scooch to the left again. That's okay. Scooch to the right. They're at least a little more even. So that's why I use a second ruler. And you can use it for anything. You can use it for these lines that you've sewn. You can use them to line up against other pieces to see how far off you might be. And listen, I can't say this enough. You can't expect, or you shouldn't expect, perfection. I mean, none of us are perfect. And this is just a guide to tell me, okay, look, let's see how I can make them both as imperfect as the other, right? So that's what I do, guys. That's what I do, because I am not perfect. I am definitely not perfect. I always have stuff that's off, and it just happens. And I'm okay with that. But there are certain things that, yes, I can do to make it seem a little bit better to me, and that's why I do it. Not to try to get absolute perfection, because I'm never gonna, I never expect that. Now, what I probably will do is I'm going to pull this top fabric down just a tad bit more, because while this isn't, it's not terrible, I think it could get a little bit better, also because I know that this pink is still way over the purple on that back side. So again, I'm just going to pull it down just a little bit, right? And now look, you can start to see some of that purple coming out the top. This side is still okay. That side's still just as wonky as it was. And I'll take my ruler again and put it where I would be sewing. Doesn't even look like I did all that much. And I would just check again for how far off is it. And it's pretty far off, so I'll just turn it, push the right side down again a little bit. And I see that. It's still way off. I don't know what I did. Let's try that. And really, it's like, how long do you want to play with it? You know what I mean? Because it's not, in the long run, by the time you're putting your quilt together, none of this is going to matter that much. I mean, you're going to have to still, if you're off a little, fudge a little bit. So, I really like this time that I've just spent with you is way longer than I usually spend, because I just want to show you exactly what I'm sort of looking for, but also let you know that I don't expect everything to be perfect. I never expect everything to be perfect. If it ever is, I do a little happy dance. So here we go. I'm going to just mark this stuff up, because that's what I do. And I know I have a whole lot of you guys who, will question why I do this. This is my preference. There is no right or wrong way to mark your seams. If you want to rely on your 1/4 inch foot, by all means, do that. Because everyone should find what works for them and go with it. Okay. I think what I'm going to do, and I don't always do this, but I think for right now I'm going to, because it'll just look better in the end. I'm going to put my ruler down on the 1/4 inch line that I drew, and I'm going to just trim it up a little bit, because we have those little pieces, and this will just make it look a little bit better when we're sewing. Okay, and then yes, I actually use Wonder clips as well, and this is only because I don't want to have to worry as I'm walking to the sewing machine. Is it gonna shift? Is it gonna, you know, I just don't want to have to worry about it. So I will take this over to the sewing machine, sew my line real quick, and then we are going to press these to the top. Okay, so we're going to press toward this guy, and I will come back and we are then going to be starting with step 4. Okay, so now we have these 2 pieces ready, and we're going to set them to the side for just a bit. And we are now going to make another set of flying geese. And the large triangle is A, and the small triangles to either side are F. Okay, now we've obviously made lots of flying geese, so I'm not going to walk through the whole thing again with you. It's the same thing. We're going to attach the 2 pieces on the left side. We will, might as well get those ready. We will sew the 1/4 inch seam allowance here. We will come back and we will press towards F, which is the banana fabric. Okay, and then after we do that pressing, we will then attach the right side and do the same. We're going to press toward F. So once I have those 2 flying geese ready to go, we will come back and then attach a rectangle in step number 5. Okay, so we have those flying geese ready, and now we are going to add a purple rectangle to the bottom of each one. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we will take the bottom and turn them right sides together, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right here. As soon as after we're done sewing that, we will then press toward the A rectangle. So you'll press toward the purple rectangle. And after this step, we only have one more step left. So come on back and we'll finish it up in the next segment. Okay, so we have these ready, and now we're ready for our final step for section 4B. Now we're going to attach these pieces to the ones we did at the beginning. And so I'm going to just pull these down, and we're going to put these at the top. So what we'll need to do is fold these right sides together. And we are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance here and here. And as soon as I have that done, I will press to the bottom, which is the purple rectangle side. And after that's done, I will come back and we will look at the final 2 pieces for section 4B. So please hurry back. Ta-da! Last 2 pieces are done for clue number 4. And again, this is the Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt Name of the Rose, and this is the small Whimsy quilt. So I am pretty happy with how they came out. Here are, again, the pieces for 4A, and I'm just going to set those there. And then I have these 2, which are 4B. I'm going to go ahead and label those. And let me get my little scissors. Okay. Okay. And I will pin this on here. And then I will put them in my project box. So we are all set for clue 4, and I will see you guys next month with clue number 5. Happy sewing, and please keep posting pics of all your quilts because I love seeing all the different colorways. Thank you so much for sewing with me.